Welcome to Dirt, Sweat, and Gears, where all of the bad decisions are made, while my Honda Prelude sits waiting in purgatory for panel clips for my fender liners. We're going to talk about my newest acquisition. This is a 1990 Mazda Miata. This car, I bought it a couple of months ago, and I paid way more than I should have for it, and it is very broken. At first glance, it actually looks pretty nice. The body's mostly straight. The top is in beautiful condition, but the deeper I dig into it, the more broken I find out it is. We're going to take a walk around this car. We're going to talk about it a little bit and talk about why I don't trust anything about this car until I can actually work on it myself. Now, one of the things I realized about the Prelude was that the Prelude ended up being a lot of work, but I wasn't planning for it to be a lot of work. The Miata, however, I was planning for it to be a lot of work, which is why it's been sitting for so long, which is why I haven't touched it. Since I've actually done all of this work to the Prelude, first of all, got used to my new garage. I kind of broke everything in. I feel really a lot more comfortable being here and working in this space, and I really couldn't have picked a better car to do that with. I've turned every bolt on this Prelude, so I really had a good time with it. I understood it. I didn't really have to learn anything new, so that's what made it such a good opportunity to work on as a first project in this garage. So the reason why we got this Miata is because my wife needed a car. We both like small cars, which is really good, but she really wanted a brand new car. Fortunately, we can't afford a brand new car right now, so I decided, and she kind of made a face and accepted that if we're going to get a used car, we should get a used car that I can have fun with later on. So my strategy was that I was going to fix it up to be usable and drivable and comfortable for her, and then later on, when we can afford a brand new car for her, then that's when I go nuts with this thing, put a turbo on it, do full suspension, and make it just a really sweet ride. But in the meantime, I really kind of wanted to bring it back to stock and really make it stock, but a little better. First thing you'll notice is, this car looks pretty good. The panels are mostly straight. There's a little bit of misalignments, but what old car doesn't have little quirks here and there? But this bumper, nice happy little bumper, but there's really no bracket back here. That's pretty concerning. Over here, it actually looks like a very decent car. The paint is terrible. I hate it. He painted it this weird bronze that faded over time, and I really just don't care about it. I also don't care about these wheels. These are some American racing wheels. They're not bad, but they're not good. I'm missing a center cap here. These are 14-inch wheels, so if I want to do a big brake upgrade, I actually have to get new wheels, which is very unfortunate. As I mentioned earlier, the top is in excellent condition. It's by far the least broken thing about this car. And then you see here the trunk lid is a different color. This is actually, he spray painted this whole car. He used some type of automotive spray paint, and the color of the trunk lid is the color that the rest of the car was when he painted it. But this is all going to go back to stock red, I think, eventually. I also have to do some work back here. He said he was rear-ended at a Del Taco. It's believable. So in the trunk, the seller had told me that the radio was actually draining the battery. But there's a few problems here that I noticed. First of all, there's no battery harness, there's no battery bracket. Second, he's got an enormous battery. And third, I actually discovered why. The battery is getting drained. Look at that. That is the positive terminal hitting the hinge to the hood, causing a short. And that's what was draining the battery. So I've been very careful ever since this discovery. I actually bought a battery bracket, a very large battery bracket, probably way bigger than I need. Eventually, I should probably get a smaller battery, but why get rid of a perfectly good one? I'm going to take this spare tire out. There's no need for it. It's garbage anyway. It looks like, actually, let's take a look at this. This might be, I don't know. So this is a 13-inch wheel. This might have been an original wheel to the car if it had steelies. It's bent. Look, it's bent. That's great. I mean, it's pretty much worthless anyway. So this is going to leave the car and probably never come back. It's already much better. I put the top down so that we can see the interior, and holy moly, it's pink. It's pink. It's pink. Kind of explains why there's a Minnie Mouse in here, but it's pink. You see there's a pile of parts in the passenger seat. I've already started buying parts for this car. I'm essentially just kind of buying everything I think it's going to need and replacing it. Spark plug wires, steel braided brake lines, a brake cylinder, all the stuff for a timing belt that's actually not in yet. And then we got a fake roll bar. It's one of those, like, it's just a B-pillar bar, not really a roll bar. And it's chrome. Even though nothing else on this car is chrome, it's chrome with a pink dashboard, bronze exterior color on what should have been black. So I'm going to be stripping all of this pink off. I have citrus strip, which I think is going to do a nice job. But otherwise, the seats are in great shape. I mean, everything is in decent condition otherwise. The steering wheel is a little worn. I might replace it or have it rewrapped or something eventually. Let's check out the shocks. Bounce. Bounce. That's bad. That's really bad. The whole car shakes. That's even worse. I don't even need to bother on the other corner. I know the suspension's bad. It's really bad. So this is definitely getting some coilovers soon. And since we're talking about suspension, it looks like this thing was lowered. And there are no fender liners. So that needs to change. I'm going to get some fender liners. I'm going to need to get some coilovers, raise this car back up a little bit. Let's move on to the best part, the main attraction, under the hood. You see there's no cowl. That's great. The BrakeMaster cylinder was showing signs of leaking when I bought it. Looks like it might still be a little wet down there. So I went ahead and bought a new one. This one doesn't look old, but I don't trust it, so I'm replacing it. The radiator. Oh, the little sparkles. And it's had block sealer run through it. So there might be some fun to be had when I take that apart. The intake, well, it's fine. It needs some hoses. A lot of these hoses, this one's fine, but a lot of these hoses are worn out. All of the hoses need to go. These vacuum caps need to be replaced. It's definitely taking in more air than it should. Spark plug wires, they're NGK, but I'm replacing them anyway. I'm giving this car a full tune-up. I'm going to change the timing belt. I have no idea what is going on with this car, so I'm just going to assume everything is bad, and I'm going to replace it. The car, when I was driving home, threw a check engine light, and I discovered that is because the it's on this side. The oxygen sensor down here, the wire for it fell off. So it's snagged on the other side, but it fell off. It came disconnected. So I gotta reconnect that. I'm gonna replace those hoses. Got some oil leaks, so I'm gonna replace all of those seals. So I want to talk a little bit about the car buying experience itself. I did pretty much none of the things you're supposed to do when you're looking at buying a used car. I kind of just said, oh, it looks good. Everything looked fine at a very basic surface level, and I said, okay, I'll buy it. And the reason why I was a little more impulsive on this buy than I probably would be on any other car was because I have actually worked on these cars before. I've actually only worked on one, but that car was so easy to work on. So I kind of knew that as long as it had a straight body, you could do pretty much anything with this car. I didn't see any signs of rust. It's California, so we don't typically have to look for rust. But the body was straight. I'm really not concerned that it's missing pieces. I know he had said that it was torn down and rebuilt at one point, probably I think 4 years ago or so. I mean, if it was torn down and rebuilt, looking at the spark plugs, it was a while ago. So, and it looked like it had been daily driven since. So you know, the seller is a nice guy. He seemed pretty genuine. So I kind of just took his word for it on a lot of things where normally I definitely would not have. So I can tell there was block sealer run through the radiator. That's a huge red flag on any car. But again, like I said, this car doesn't scare me. If I have to remove the entire motor, well, fine, I can remove the motor. It's a Miata. It's even easier than the Prelude. So that's kind of why I jumped into it when I definitely shouldn't have. So let's start this car up and run it for a minute. I just want to get a really good comparison for how it runs before I start working on it versus how it runs when I'm done working on it. And we can kind of get a sense of what we need to look out for as we're going through this car. Oof. Alright, so first off, it sounds like we're starting up an old diesel. The valves are tapping really loudly. I really don't like that. I don't think that's normal for this car. It does smooth out after time, so it could be an oil issue. I know the valves on my Prelude are loud, but this is even louder. So I believe this motor is hydraulic lifters, so there's no real valve adjustment, but I'm a little concerned about the timing and things like that. Or maybe there's a leak in the intake or exhaust. The inside of the car, the gauges seem to work. The oil pressure gauge is looking good at 40. The tach was running low when I first started it up, and that's because of the oxygen sensor being disconnected. If I were to go drive it, we would see a check engine light. It's obviously still cold, so that's not gonna run up, but it does work. I was watching the temperature on the way home when I bought it. This car has 197,000 miles, which is okay. I don't mind high mileage cars, but that tapping is just gnarly. The pop-up headlights are nice and quick. The radio is ugly as sin. The clutch feels good. It feels good enough. It's nice and easy. It has plenty of, a little bit of more play than I would like before engaging, but once it engages, it feels nice and firm. The brakes scare me because of the master cylinder thing that I pointed out. The throttle feels fine for a car like this. The air conditioner does not blow cold, and it doesn't feel like it's even turning on, so there could be a wiring or a switch issue. I'm not terribly concerned about that, but it'd be nice to fix that eventually. Shifter feels good. It's upside down. The knob is upside down, but I don't know if this was some modified short throw shifter or if Miata's just come that short, but that feels pretty good. Glove box is not broken. This weird little light does not work, but I don't think I care about that. The lights work. Turn signals work. Hazards work. Windshield wipers, I'm not going to turn them on because the windshield's pretty disgusting. Horn works on one side. So as you can see, I do have a lot of work to do with this car, but it's not that bad. The car just really needed to be in the hands of a car guy. Of an enthusiast who knows a few things about what they're doing, and I like to think I know a few things. I'm kind of a dumbass, but at the same time, I care. I care about what I'm doing, and so when I take this thing apart, I'm going to be very careful. I'm going to buy quality parts, and I'm really not going to cut corners because, especially if this is a car that I'm planning for my wife to drive, I really want it to be as good as it can be. So over the next couple of months, probably, once I finish with this Prelude, I'm really going to start digging into this car. We may take an interlude between the Prelude and the Miata to take a look at a fueling issue on the Maverick. I haven't decided if we're going to do that quite yet. Might be a really good opportunity to introduce the car, though. So that's all I've got for you for now. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.